Today is 15 February. It's Sunday. I'm Charlie Garrett, and this is the CG Prophecy Report. Dogs, pubs, and white people must go. That and a lot of other things to go over on today's report. Okay, we got some news from Israel, from All Israel. Captain Ella. You know Captain Ella? Captain Ella is the first Arab Muslim woman at rank of lieutenant colonel, is named the new IDF Arabic language spokesperson. Major Ella Waweya, known as Captain Ella, will succeed Colonel Avichai Adrai as the IDF's Arabic language spokesperson. As part of the appointment, Waweya will be promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel Waweya, who was Adrai's deputy until now. She was born in Kalansawe to a Muslim family. She enlisted in the IDF secretly and went on to become the first Muslim female officer in the IDF. In 2013, she joined the IDF spokesperson's unit and has since served in the Arabic media branch under Adrai. She has also received the President's Award of Excellence and is known for producing Arabic language public diplomacy videos for social media. Adrai has been interviewed hundreds of times by Arab television channels, including Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya, and is regarded as a prominent figure in the Arab world. So anybody that tells you that the IDF is a bunch of racists, they don't know what they're talking about. They've got people from all branches of the population in the IDF. They got people from the Sikhs and from the Arabs and from the Christians, and they're all working together to protect Israel. From the Times of Israel, Moody's boosts Israel's credit outlook to stable as ceasefires in Gaza and Lebanon hold. Credit rating agency Moody's upgraded Israel's credit outlook from negative to stable as geopolitical risks subside, with ceasefires holding in Lebanon and Gaza. The rating agency, Gaza does have its problems, though. The Hamas keeps going over the yellow line, and they keep getting themselves exploded. But that's their fault. It's not Israel going over the line and causing trouble without first being, somebody trying to get at them. So the rating agency said the stable outlook reflects the assessment that Israel's exposure to geopolitical risks has materially eased from very high levels, following the end of the military conflict with Iran and the ceasefires with Hamas terror group in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. While Israel's geopolitical and security environments remain fragile, the signs of resilience of the economy to the conflicts of the past 2 years and the evidence of a large but also controlled impact on government finances indicate that the credit risks are now balanced. Israel's credit strengths and resilience are evidenced by the relative robustness of GDP growth and continued strong growth and investment in the country's advanced tech sector, which has continued despite the heightened geopolitical tensions in recent years. While Moody's praised Israel's resilient economy in its report, the change in outlook does not mean the credit agency is expected to upgrade the country's credit rating in the near future. Rather, it means the country is not at risk of a further downgrade. A lower rating raises credit costs for the government, businesses, and households. And from CBS, Israeli strikes in Gaza kill almost 20, including 2 infants, hospitals say, asking where is the ceasefire. This was about 10 days ago, and everybody's blaming Israel on this, but they don't really say what was behind it. From All Israel, IDF reservists severely wounded by Hamas ambush in Gaza as gunmen fire on Israeli troops in blatant ceasefire violation. The only time anybody dies in Gaza now is when Hamas attacks and then Israel turns around and reattacks. And if there are civilians there, they are going to go into pieces. That's just a fact of war. A reserve officer in the IDF was seriously wounded by terrorist gunfire on the Israeli side of the yellow line in the northern Gaza Strip. Upon identifying the fire, our IDF armed units and IAF aircraft conducted strikes in the area. The military called the shooting attack a blatant ceasefire violation, which has happened again just like yesterday. Hebrew media said the IDF is investigating to determine if the shooting was a sniper attack or if the Palestinian gunman had crossed into the Israeli-controlled territory. The officer received initial treatment on the ground by military medics and was then evacuated by helicopter to a hospital. Shortly thereafter, Arab media reported Israeli strikes in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. The incident occurred amid continued tensions related to the failure to disarm Hamas. The IDF continues efforts to locate and destroy Hamas tunnels in the Strip. The military announced that during those search operations, soldiers located about 110 mortar shells, several rockets, and additional combat equipment, which were hidden in blankets and UNRWA humanitarian aid bags. Can't trust the UN at all. They are not to be trusted, and it's good that Israel is getting them out of their territory. From Al Jamainer, anti-Jewish hate crimes in New York City increased 182% during Mamdani's first month in office, police data shows. It's only going to get worse. We can see that people in New York are going to start either leaving New York for other parts of the U.S. or they are going to head to Israel. That's what's going to happen because it's only going to go downhill over the next couple years. We've got some news from Christianity. The post-millennial. Iowa church hosts anti-ICE activist training on how to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. Over 500 people attended an anti-ICE legal observer training at Cedar Rapids, Indiana Methodist Church during the Methodist. That ought to tell you all you need to know right now. At this point in the Methodist history, they are not really a church anymore. They've taken a completely woke attitude towards every possible issue you can imagine. I'm not going to read you the article. It just makes me angry. But they're ordaining homosexual leaders. They are having women take over churches. All the things that the Bible does not allow, they are doing. Including that, they're getting into any government operations now. As a church, this is, to me, it's entirely unacceptable, and I would hope that you would feel the same. From Just the News, Trump plans National Jubilee of Prayer event in May as part of America 250. I don't know if you heard about this, but I can't imagine our previous presidents even thinking this, much less doing it. President Trump announced that he plans to hold a National Day of Prayer on the National Mall in May, which is intended to rededicate America, yes, as one nation under God. As a part of the year-long America 250 birthday celebration, Trump made the announcement during an appearance in the National Prayer Breakfast, where he also touted his admin's efforts to bring religion back to public life, while still abiding by the Constitution, which the Constitution says nothing about forbidding religion. Zero. The president said the prayer event will take place on May 17th and extended the invitation to gather for the event to all Americans. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God, Trump said. Some major politicians refuse to say the word God. They don't want to say it. I say it. There are many signs that religion is coming back. It's coming back so strong. I love how he always repeats himself. You know, your churches are filling up. You didn't have that 2 years ago. The event will be hosted by Freedom 250, which is a subsidiary of the National Park Foundation. Good job. That is organizing events marking the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. So he's doing good things. He's got the right agenda, and the left just hates the guy, half of the country, and that's too bad because they are missing out on real prosperity and somebody that is at least trying to get this ship heading in the right direction. From Fox News, Pope Leo plans to continue Pope Francis's mission of inclusivity for LGBTQ Catholics, Friar James Martin says. So that's the priority of the Roman Catholic Church today. Got some news from the Mideast and Africa. From the Times of Israel, drone footage shows Hamas gunmen transporting arms in ambulances in North Gaza. They've got it all. They got it all filmed, following them, showing where they're going, what they're putting in there. The military said that routine drone operations in the Jabalia area, close to the Gaza ceasefire line, exposed how armed Hamas terrorists repeatedly and systematically use ambulances to transfer operatives and weapons from a hospital to a school. That is four human rights violations in one sentence. 4. It's unbelievable what they're doing, and the UN says nothing. If Israel sneezes in the direction of Gaza, they get a human rights violation citation. It's totally hypocritical. The clip shows gunmen operating around an ambulance at 2 locations. This is further proof of the cynical exploitation carried out by Hamas on a regular basis. and of its violations of international law under the cover of the civilian population for terrorist purposes. There's another human rights violation, doing these things within the general population, doing it with schools, doing it with hospitals, going over the yellow line, using ambulances, and doing it in civilian areas, all violations of the UN. The army said that since the start of the ceasefire, Hamas has violated the agreement and focused its efforts on restoring its military capabilities. The IDF repeatedly accused Hamas operatives of operating within medical facilities, as well as utilizing ambulances to transport its terrorists. Hostages kidnapped during the October 7th massacre and taken to Gaza have also said in interviews that they were moved around the Strip in ambulances. Additionally, a senior Biden admin official accused Hamas in 2023 of trying to sneak its fighters out of Gaza in ambulances that evacuated dozens of wounded Palestinians to Egypt. Total violations of national law or international law, and they are getting away with it, and nobody but Israel seems to care. Nobody. Christian Post. Taliban legalizes slavery. Steps up suppression of women and girls. Slide farther backwards. This is our Taliban. The Taliban has codified slavery and formalized a class-based justice system in Afghanistan through a newly approved criminal procedure code signed by its supreme leader. The new law strips away due process and institutionalizes privilege based on gender, religion, and social status. The 119-article code, which includes references to free persons and slaves, divides Afghan society into 4 categories, namely religious scholars, elites, middle class, and lower class, each which faces different penalties for the same crimes. This is exactly like the caste system that they had in India, which is still there, but they just say it's not there, okay? A cleric receives advice, while someone from lower class may receive both imprisonment and corporal punishment. So a imam does something wrong, and all he gets is some advice not to do it again, right? But the same thing is done over here, and this guy goes to prison and gets beaten. That makes a lot of sense. Insulting a Taliban official could lead to 20 lashes and 6 months in prison. Individuals who abandon the Hanafi school of Islamic jurisprudence can receive up to 2 years in prison. Article 58 prescribes life imprisonment with repeated corporal punishment for women who leave and return to Islam. Article 32 limits punishment for a husband who severely beats his wife to 15 days in jail, even if bruises or fractures are documented. The law distinguishes between free persons and slaves in its language on punishment, which legal experts say constitutes recognition of slavery as a legitimate status. Slavery is banned under all circumstances in international law, but the Taliban Code treats it as a normative legal category, raising serious human rights concerns. The code omits basic legal protections such as the right to a lawyer, the right to silence, and the right to seek compensation for wrongful punishment. It relies heavily on confessions and testimony as primary forms of evidence and removes the requirement for independent investigation. The criminal code expands the use of corporal punishment and introduces vague offenses as dancing or being in gatherings of corruption, allowing authorities broad discretion to arrest and punish. These changes have drawn warnings from rights groups that the risk of torture and arbitrary detention has increased significantly. So there you go. That's the Taliban of the world today. From the Times of Israel, Doctors Without Borders warns halting its work will be catastrophic for Gazans. Israel announced that it was terminating all the activities in Gaza and the West Bank of the organization known by its French acronym MSF after it failed. Now, they get upset about these things, but Israel told them to do something. They would not do it, and because they would not do it, Israel says, you have to go. That makes complete sense to me, at least. After it failed to provide a list of its Palestinian staff. They don't want any terrorists on this staff taking people around in ambulances, which is exactly what's been going on. MSF slammed the move, which takes effect on 1 March, as a pretext to obstruct aid. No, it's a pretext. It's not even a pretext. It's justification to not get exploded in Israel. That's what it is. The charity says it currently provides at least 20% of hospital beds in the territory and operates around 20 health centers. In 2025 alone, it carried out more than 800,000 medical consultations, treated more than 100,000 trauma cases, and assisted more than 10,000 infant deliveries. It also provided more than 185 million gallons of water. Okay, well, maybe they did those things, but if they are using terrorists to do them, they can't do it anymore. From Mongolia, NBC LA says they did it again. They've done it year after year. It's amazing. Mongolia is unbelievable. Mongolia's Olympic uniforms are the talk of the town. All the way over in LA, they're talking about these. The uniforms are inspired by the 13th and 15th Mongol Empire, blending history with performance. Rather than merely blending traditional garments with modern design, this collection aims to reintroduce the ancient Mongolian clothing culture, an inseparable part of our great history and cultural heritage, to the contemporary world and share it on a global stage. So get your snappy Mongolian uniforms today, kids. Daniel 12 Technology from the Times of Israel. Apple, which is a company, it's kind of small, you might not have heard about it, but they are getting bigger. Apple buys Israeli startup, reportedly for $2 billion, that reads facial micro movements. Okay, we got a tech person here. What would you use facial micro movements for?
Lie detector?
Well, you could use it for a lie detector, but that's not what they're going to use it for. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Apple confirmed acquiring the Israeli startup QAI in what appeared to be part of the tech giant's efforts to make inroads to the wearables market. With the aid of AI, QAI is tight-lipped in its public about its technology, but patents it filed show tech being used in headphones or glasses using facial skin micro movements for non-verbal communication. You want to, instead of using a mouse, you can tweak your eye, do something with different parts of your face, and then that will be converted into movement. So you don't have this anymore. They're trying to do this. The move may be a component of Apple's strategy for wearable products such as smart glasses. Software that reads facial expressions could potentially make way for a hands-free user interface that doesn't require talking out loud. So you don't even need to talk. Just your face will do everything. You want to type, you can do it with your eyes, I guess. I don't know what it is. For decades, we have been forced to speak the language of the machine, learning to type, to click, and to swipe. But we believe we are in the midst of a new tech revolution, an era where the machine finally learns to understand us. So it's going exactly the opposite of what you would normally think. It's a dangerous world, including the inevitable plagues noted in the book of Revelation. From the Express, horror outbreak of yellow jack disease. This is an old disease, but it's breaking out, leaves 70 people dead. Symptoms of yellow fever, historically known as yellow jack. The yellow quarantine flag flown on ships are similar to flu, high temperature, headache, sickness, aches and pains, loss of appetite, feeling generally unwell. In serious cases, it can cause severe infection, leading to multi-organ failure and internal bleeding. Around 15% of patients develop severe symptoms, and around one half of those die. The situation in Colombia, so it's not here, but it's in our hemisphere, is one of a number of global outbreaks being monitored by experts. Epic Times, Texas governor issues disaster declaration over spread of parasitic screwworm. It's coming over the border. It's getting ready to infect the animals here. We've had this here before. It was very expensive to get rid of. The governor is now saying we need to get control of this very quickly. From the Wall Street Journal, defying the CDC, pediatricians recommend all kids get vaccinations against 18 diseases. So we got different parts of the government that are at war, as we saw last week, and now we got the pediatricians, which were totally sold out to the left lobby. Now they are disagreeing with the CDC recommendations. From Watchers, driest short rain season since 1981 push over 2 million people into crisis-level food insecurity in Kenya. So Kenya is having real trouble. Keep them in prayer. We've got an allied church over there that we take care of, and we built them some schools and some wells and bought them some farmland, and that may be a little bit of trouble for them this year. So having said that, Florida is in a big drought. It's like the longest one since I was in high school or something, which was like 100 years ago. So anyway, we do pray for rain. There may be some tonight. We'll see if it happens. From the Gateway Pundit, FBI raids illegal biolab inside a private home in Las Vegas. More coming on that. Just so you know, authorities discover thousands of vials linked to CCP-connected California lab. So we'll talk about that more. There's going to be stuff coming out. They are actively trying to harm the United States of America inside the United States of America. Just the news, Illinois becomes second state to join the World Health Organization's Global Disease Network after U.S. withdrawal. So California and Illinois are saying we want to be under the World Health Organization. That is not thinking life through well, but there you go. Morality? From Fox, Planned Parenthood drops lawsuit challenging Trump administration's Medicaid cuts. It's done. They are out. They are not getting any federal money anymore for killing little human beings. Any other president, this never would have happened. Ever. Never. And he has got it done. He said he would. He did it. He was sued 4,000 times. They finally ended that, and it is done. So we have a president that is keeping his promises. Life News, President Trump ends all foreign abortion spending. All. None. Just the news, California legislation would allocate $90 million to Planned Parenthood. So California's going to pick up the tab now. Good. Let them pay for it if that's what they want. Fox, California AG sues hospital that ended gender transition treatment for minors to comply with Trump policies. We got a federal policy. They don't want that, and so now they're suing the hospital that was obeying the federal policies. This is California. Barron's, it wasn't working. Canada province ends drug decriminalization. We keep seeing this. They keep saying it's going to work here. It's going to work here. And it never works. And then they end up ending it after killing hundreds and hundreds of people. Just wastes of human life. Yes. But they're really not going to enforce it. They're just ending it. Gateway Pundit, Democrat Governor Abigail Spanberger set to release illegal alien accused of strangling an 8-month-old baby. She refuses to hand him to ICE.
Take your whip.
Breitbart, left-wing teachers across the country are forcing kids to protest ICE. It's happening everywhere. Fox, DHS issues warning about trend of domestic partners poisoning loved ones. Yes, it's a new fad. You don't like your girlfriend or boyfriend anymore? Watch out. They're probably going to poison you. That's what they're worried about. From the Post-Millennial, Spokane, Washington moves to create immigration enforcement free zones to combat ICE. Gateway Pundit, Miami Democrat Mayor Eileen Higgins vows to obstruct ICE and limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. That will end because we have a government in the state capital that will not allow that. They will cut her funding and she'll say, okay, we will now work with them. Unlike Minnesota, where it's exactly the opposite. That will end. She can do whatever she wants, but she will lose state money, and she can't afford to do that. Gateway Pundit, Democrat Rep. Nadler says Americans would be justified in shooting masked ICE agents. It's a representative in the U.S. Congress, right? Yeah. Other news, just the news. Red flags raised over Chinese communist academics inside the United States, colleges developing advanced technology. They're in there in these things, and they're taking our technology and they're stealing it. And this has been going on. And yeah, elite American colleges developing advanced technology with military applications have been infiltrated by academics who are card-carrying members of the CCP. The conservative nonprofit American Accountability Foundation reported it found nearly 24 Chinese academics working at elite U.S. schools and labs who, because of the dual-use threat of their research, close ties to the military research sector in China, and or clear ties to the CCP, should be expelled from the United States and never be readmitted. This is their recommendation. Senator Ron Johnson told Just the News that the explosion of the number of Chinese academics on U.S. soil was a direct consequence of the Biden admin's open borders policies and its decision to shut down the FBI's main counterintelligence program vetting Chinese threats inside U.S. academia. I reported on that a couple, maybe 5-8 months ago, where Trump immediately put that back into place because he cut out something that is national security at its utmost. I think back to the start of the Biden admin, where they canceled the program within the DOJ, the theft of U.S. intellectual property in universities. He suggested American universities overlook the potential of the threat of Chinese academics for pure reasons of profit. From Wired magazine, AI bots are now a significant source of web traffic. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's just a human, but it's a computer. It's a bot. And it goes through things and it looks at things just like you would browse on the internet. And it makes decisions and it may show its presence to look like something else. Anyway, that's a bot. It's just like, think of yourself, but it's a computer emulating what humans do. The viral virtual assistant OpenClaw, formerly known as Moltbot, and before that Claudebot, is a symbol of a broader revolution underway that could fundamentally alter how the internet functions. Instead of a place primarily inhabited by humans, the web may very soon be dominated by autonomous AI bots. AI bots are already accounting for a meaningful share of web traffic. The findings also shed light on an increasingly sophisticated arms race unfolding as bots deploy clever tactics to bypass web defenses meant to keep them out. Most big websites try to limit what content bots can scrape and feed to AI systems for training purposes. But another kind of AI-related website scraping is now on the rise as well. Many chatbots and other AI tools can now retrieve real-time information from the web and use it to augment and improve their outputs. This might include up-to-the-minute product prices, movie theater schedules, or summary of the latest news. Training-related bot traffic has been rising steadily since last July. Meanwhile, global activity from bots fetching web content for AI agents is also on the upswing. It's taking over the internet, and it's going to direct what you think when you turn on the internet, according to what they program them to do. It's very scary what's happening with the bots. From Zero Hedge, this article was about this long, and I had to cut it down to this long, but it's a sad indictment on what's going on in the UK. It was going on in America, that has ended. It's going on in many countries in Europe continuously, and they're allowing it. But just listen to this. Zero Hedge. The government is obsessed with making Britain's countryside less white. It's a white country, okay? They are bringing in people to be good or whatever they're thinking, and they are destroying their country, is what they're doing. The British countryside is under siege from diversity mandates that aim to transform it into a less white environment, with officials in areas of natural beauty like the Chilterns and Cotswolds pledging to draw in more ethnic minorities under DEFRA guidance. This push stems from reports warning that rural spaces risk becoming irrelevant in a multicultural society, dominated by the white middle class. Well, that's what it's always been, so why should it change? Prompting commitments to outreach, diverse staffing, and even dog control measures to make the outdoors more appealing. Who doesn't like dogs? Muslims. And they want to tell you in these areas you can't bring dogs anymore, which they've been bringing since time began. In the Chilterns, proposals include community outreach to attract Muslims from nearby Luton, recruiting diverse staff, and producing marketing materials featuring ethnic minorities and community languages. Research cited suggests tighter dog controls as some groups fear them. Malvern Hills National Landscape stated many minority peoples have no connection to nature in the UK because their parents and their grandparents did not feel safe enough to take them or had other survival preoccupations. They're blaming that on whiteness. It added, while most white English users value the solitude and contemplative activities which the countryside affords, the tendency for ethnic minority people is to prefer social company, meaning family, friends, and schools. If that's what they like, then let them like it. Why force them to move out into the countries if they don't want to move into the countries? That's not their cultural norm. Okay, and better if they want their cultural norm and they want to continue it, let them live where they came from. It doesn't make any sense. Everything they're doing is irrational. The area plans to develop strategies to reach people or communities with protected characteristics such as people without English as a first language. Nidderdale in North Yorkshire warns of barriers for ethnic minorities, including concerns about how they will be received when visiting an unfamiliar space. You know, I've been all over this world, and I've never had any concerns when I walked anywhere in any country. I mean, unless we were talking earlier about Israel. When I was in Israel, I went there during the Intifada with my mother. And everybody says, don't go there. You know, all you heard on the news is it's the most dangerous place on the planet. And when we were there, the guy that I went on the tour with, who's now dead, but he was very famous at the time, he took a picture of me. At lunchtime, I was sleeping on the grass overlooking Jerusalem, and he said, there's your Intifada, right? Anyway, so that made all of the world publication they used to put out. The area plans to develop strategies to reach people or communities with protected characteristics such as people without English as a first language. Crane-born chase will also target people or communities with protected characteristics such as people without English as a first language. Surrey Hills notes some demographics are still underrepresented in our countryside, while Suffolk and Essex Coast Heath, they got so many funny names over there, that expresses concerns about some sections of society that are underrepresented when looking at the composition of visitors. So they're worrying about who goes out to these places. Like, you know, it would be like going to the Grand Canyon and saying, we're not getting any Muslims here. We need to start attracting Muslims. If they want to go, they're free to go. If they live in America, they can go wherever they want. Dedham Vale, imagine living there. Dedham Vale pledges to identify and seek to address barriers facing underrepresented or diverse groups which limit equal access to the Dedham Vale national landscape. These efforts trace back to a 29 DEFRA report by Julian Glover, which claimed we are all paying for national landscapes through our taxes, and yet sometimes on our visits it felt as if national parks are an exclusive, mainly white, mainly middle-class club. Oh no! How awful! In a country where over 80% of the population is white, it warned many communities in modern Britain feel that these landscapes hold no relevance for them. The countryside is seen by both Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups as a very much white environment. Now listen, they've had Indians that they brought over during the wars, the Gurkhas. I mean, we're talking in the 17 and 1800s. They've been living there for generations, and they can travel wherever they want, and they're out there, and nobody makes them feel uncomfortable. They're a part of the society. They're the best warriors in the world. They became a part of the UK. They joined the military. They still are active doing what they do in the UK, and they're not a problem in society. This has never been a problem except in the left's minds. If that is true today, then the divide is only going to widen as society changes. Our countryside will end up being irrelevant to the country that actually exists. Well, wouldn't it actually exist the way it is if they didn't bring these people that don't belong there into the country? Anyway, new long-term programs to increase the ethnic diversity of visitors. A 2022 DEFRA report costing £108,000 found perceptions of protected landscapes as being for white people and middle-class people could be a powerful barrier for first-generation immigrants. They come off the boat and they're expecting them to go out to these parks and have a good time when they should be working, establishing businesses, getting their children into school. Instead, they want to fund them to come and go take a year-long vacation at all the national parks. The whole thing, the entire thing is just national suicide. All right. So concerns included rural facilities catering to white English culture, such as traditional pubs. So you can't have your traditional pub in your town anymore. I want to go and have a beer at the, American Werewolf in London. It was the slain lamb or the something lamb. It was where the werewolf hung around in the moors. Well, you can't do that anymore. You have to have like a halal meat stand instead of your traditional pub. The whole thing is just destroying their culture. That's all it is. Accordingly, Muslims from the Pakistani and Bangladeshi group said this contributed to a feeling of being unwelcome. You go into a place that is 100% white out in the middle of nowhere that's been that way since, 5,000 years ago, and they have pubs And they're worried about that. And they feel unwelcome.
So don't go.
Zero Hedge. FAA to allow 44 SpaceX Starship launches from the Kennedy Space Center per year. Now, this is one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers. Okay, we have had the Kennedy Space Center for eons, right? Generations now. And what do people do? They move into the area, and what do you think they're going to do? They're going to complain. They move into an area where rockets take off, and they complain. Okay, we have in Sarasota something called the Sarasota International Airport. Okay, and people move around it, and then they complain. You know, I worked in the wastewater plant in Gulfgate here for years. I ran that plant, okay? And it's not there anymore, but it was right over in the middle of a golf course. And a guy that I worked with at another plant in high school, his brother wanted to move in here, and his brother said, don't move there because there's a wastewater plant. He says, no, it's going to be fine. I've checked with all the neighbors, it's fine. Every single day after he moved in, he called and he complained. Every day, for years. People, if you're going to move to a wastewater plant, you can expect that is a wastewater plant. If you're going to move next to a rocket facility, rockets are going to take off. Okay, the FAA will allow SpaceX to launch its behemoth Starship from Kennedy Space Center in Florida 44 times per year. That decision was released on January 30th in an environmental impact report, which also recommended that the company conduct 88 landings, 44 for the Starship spacecraft and 44 for the Super Heavy booster. The FAA makes this recommendation while noting concerns from Brevard County residents about noise, especially sonic booms during late-night operations. I got a friend that I grew up with in high school, right here. I grew up with her. I've known her since first grade. She moved over there. She doesn't complain because she said, I moved over here. Beach access related to the launches and possibility that National Park Service could lose revenue during the increased need to close parts of the Canaveral National Seashore. Impacts on commercial flights, especially international ones due to ground stops or rerouting, were also acknowledged. You know what? I live on Siesta Key. And on Siesta Key, everybody moves there and they say, this is the nicest place in the world. We've heard this since my grandfather moved there in 1948. There were like 200 people on the entire island, 1948. Nobody wanted to live out there because it was mosquitoes. There were snakes everywhere. It was as wild as any place you could imagine. When I grew up there, it was the same. We'd have like pygmy rattlers, and we'd have to take out the nest because they're pygmy rattlers, right? It was a very dangerous place, and it was very, very uncomfortable living there, but some people saw the charm in it. So we're out there, and there is a saying, I'm going to move to Siesta Key. It is the nicest place in the world. I'm not going to change anything except this. Now do that 40,000 times and it's no longer where they moved to. Everybody wants to change one little thing and pretty soon it's no. So now we got these giant McMansions all over the place. All the native trees have been cut down. The people killed the squirrels, which are the most wonderful things on the planet. They have sanitized a beautiful place, completely sanitized it. The post-millennial, illegal alien charged with killing 4 in Indiana crash, detained by ICE after entering the U.S. under Biden's CBP-1 app. I could read you 50 of those every week, 50 of them. Gateway pundit, illegal alien released into U.S. by Biden regime kills innocent 59-year-old man during high-speed pursuit in Southern California. And they want to protect this guy, right? Gateway pundit, anti-ICE resistance manuals and training discovered in Minnesota schools receiving federal funding. Gateway pundit, public preschool in New York stages anti-ICE protest in classroom as teacher coaches children to say they're angry at the Trump administration. Little kids being indoctrinated from kindergarten. Just the News, Senator Paul introduces bill to halt welfare payments to non-citizens. Zero Hedge, San Francisco ends $5 million a year program that supplied alcohol to homeless addicts. They were told this is not a good idea. It's not going to work. It's going to increase alcoholism. And guess what happened? It wasn't a good idea. It increased alcoholism, and it was money frittered away. But it'll work this time. Just this time. Okay, who said it? Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you already did. Newt Gingrich. Yeah. Okay, got a lesser here for you. In UK, they don't want to offend. So the country they wish to upend. Muslims do not like dogs and forget about hogs. Rural planning, they plan to amend. It might be Kathy. I don't remember which one gave that to me. It was very good. Okay, a couple ironies and we are done. From Fox News, CDC reports gastrointestinal outbreak on luxury cruise ship. Oh, wait. That would be ironic if it didn't happen. I mean, anytime you go on a ship, you are going into a germ factory, okay? Sorry, that wasn't irony at all. NBC. To avoid accusations of AI cheating, I got to read you a little of the article so you get the full of it. To avoid accusations of AI cheating, college students are turning to AI. Students are taking new measures such as dumbing down their work, spying on themselves, and using AI humanizer programs to beat accusations of cheating with artificial intelligence. So they're having AI write their programs, and then they're having AI unwrite parts of it so that it looks like they're dumb. Such is the world in which we live. So from Sarasota, Florida to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, I'm Charlie Garrett, and that is your CG Prophecy Report for the week.